This is China's Belt and Road Initiative. Once hailed as the project of the century, it is one of the most ambitious infrastructure initiatives the world has ever seen, with a vast plan of connecting all corners of the globe and cementing China as the world's dominant economic power. To date, a staggering $1.3 trillion has been spent on the initiative, investing in thousands of different projects in sectors such as energy, transportation, mining, and real estate. However, a decade after its launch, the Belt and Road Initiative has turned into something of a disaster. So, what exactly is the Belt and Road Initiative, and why did such a promising project fail? Today, we'll explore these questions and many more, so give this video a thumbs up and let's get started. The Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, was launched in 2013 by Chinese President Xi Jinping and was intended to be a modern-day recreation of the Silk Road, an ancient network of trade routes connecting China with the Middle East and Europe. The idea was simple yet grand. Connect China with the rest of the world by building massive infrastructure projects like roads and railways, making up the Belt, and a maritime network connecting China to major ports across Asia, Africa, and Europe, known, slightly confusingly, as the Road. The vision for the BRI was focused on linking up countries to make it easier for everyone to trade and grow economically. China was ready to put up the money and know-how for the projects, with the hope that the countries joining in would reap the benefits of better infrastructure and a stronger economy, while solidifying them as primary trading partners of China. 151 countries have signed up to be part of the initiative, all looking forward to better trade opportunities, stronger economies, and modern, updated infrastructure. The participating countries span all regions of the world and are not just limited to developing countries. Developed nations such as Italy, Montenegro, and Greece have also joined the initiative. For developing countries, the BRI was particularly enticing as the opportunity to build new railways and highways would make it much easier to move goods and people around, helping their economies to grow. Additionally, the initiative offered these countries the opportunity to more easily obtain financing, which came with fewer conditions than traditional Western financial institutions, making it a very attractive alternative for countries seeking rapid development. In Malaysia, the East Coast Rail Link project aimed to link the less developed eastern coast with Kuala Lumpur, the capital. This rail link was supposed to boost economic activities and cut down travel time dramatically. Over in Indonesia, a 142 kilometers high-speed railway project connecting Jakarta and Bandung was set to change the way people travel in that densely populated area, making trips faster and more convenient. Now, for countries that were often left off the big transportation map, these investments were seen as a golden ticket. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, had a staggering budget of $62 billion and promised to connect China's western regions to the Arabian Sea through a transport corridor running from China to Gwadar port in Pakistan. The project was seen as a game changer for the region, offering new economic opportunities and better connectivity. But as we'll see later, it hasn't quite worked out that way. China started the BRI for several big reasons. First, it wanted to make its country more powerful both economically and politically around the world. By building roads, railways, and ports in other countries, China hoped to make it easier for these places to trade with them, which would help China's economy grow and increase its influence globally. Secondly, the BRI was focused on making trade safer and more direct for China. China currently imports 80% of its oil through the Malacca Strait, an area patrolled by US ships, and if US-China relationships ever took a severe turn for the worst, potentially vulnerable to a US naval blockade. By creating new trade routes, China would have more control over its trading process, securing its supply chains and making them less susceptible to geopolitics. China also aimed to help develop its less wealthy Western regions by connecting them with international markets. This would help these areas grow and catch up economically with the more developed eastern parts of China. Third, China was looking for a use for the trillions of dollars it has built up over the years from its role as the world's factory. This export-driven growth has allowed the Chinese central bank to build up huge foreign currency reserves, and infrastructure projects abroad were viewed as a clever way to spend this money. The BRI hasn't only been focused on transport infrastructure. There has also been the rise of the digital Silk Road, an ambitious part of the BRI focused on enhancing telecommunications infrastructures, with China's tech giant Huawei leading the charge to deploy cutting-edge 5G networks in over 70 countries. This didn't just improve connectivity, it also significantly expanded China's influence in the global tech landscape. China's objectives for this highly ambitious initiative are multifaceted, but its execution has been anything but clear sailing. Many BRI projects remain unfinished, massively over budget, or even completely abandoned. Before we find out precisely what went wrong, please take a moment to help us out by hitting that subscribe button. It only takes 2 seconds, and each new subscriber is a massive help for the channel. Okay, moving on. One major issue with the BRI has been financial mismanagement. Lured by the promise of transformative development, many developing nations found themselves ensnared in financial agreements that initially seemed beneficial but soon proved burdensome. Many BRI projects were funded by loans from Chinese banks, with money being lent often without thorough oversight or feasibility studies. This led to the funding of many unviable projects on unsustainable terms. As a result, many BRI countries have found themselves drowning in debt commitments, struggling to pay back loans for unprofitable projects, with soaring debts casting a long shadow over the economic benefits. For example, both Zambia and Djibouti are grappling with hefty financial burdens stemming from their involvement in BRI projects. Because of the BRI, China has become the lender of first resort for many low or middle-income countries and is now the world's biggest international creditor. But when countries have struggled with making payments on time, China has refused to cancel the debt, instead forking out an estimated $240 billion to help borrowers make payments on time through restructuring the debt or extending repayment deadlines. Such high debt levels have thrust many countries into economic turmoil, spotlighting the broader criticisms of the initiative and marring Beijing's reputation. Indeed, China has become the world's biggest debt collector, as the money it is owed from developing countries has surged to between $1.1 trillion and $1.5 trillion. This presents a significant problem for China, as an estimated 80% of its overseas lending is now supporting countries in financial distress. Not only this, the global pandemic made things even tougher for the BRI. With the whole world putting up trade and travel barriers over a 1 to 2 year period, a lot of projects were delayed, with about 20% of projects being seriously affected. This, along with a slower economy, has put a serious squeeze on China's finances, making it harder for them to keep pouring money into these big projects. In addition, China has been accused by many of debt-trap diplomacy, by luring developing countries into unsustainable loans and then seizing the assets when a country is unable to pay them back. For instance, in Sri Lanka, the BRI led to development of the Hambantota port. The economic rationale for Hambantota was always thought to be weak, given existing capacity and expansion plans at Sri Lanka's major port in its capital, Colombo. Not only this, but Sri Lanka had to borrow significantly from China to finance the project, and in 2017, it fell behind with debt payments. China's solution was to demand a controlling equity stake and a 99-year lease for the port. The unfolding of these events raises crucial questions about the looming threat of long-term dependency on China for economic and technological advancements. The BRI has made many Western nations nervous, particularly the United States and Europe. Many see it as a way for China to expand its influence globally and exert undue influence over the world, highlighting that the initiative only funds large infrastructure projects that benefit China, rather than funding health or education or other social sector projects that many developing nations have a greater need for. The BRI is seen as a strategic move by China to increase its political and economic leverage over participating countries, leading to the economic dependence of those countries on China. This raises serious questions about the initiative's sustainability and true benefits for the countries participating in the initiative. In Pakistan, for example, the benefits from CPEC, an initiative designed to enhance connectivity between China and Pakistan's Gwadar port, have not reached the local population as promised, leading to disillusionment and unrest. The project has faced significant delays, cost overruns and security issues, which have hindered its progress and effectiveness. And at its peak, Gwadar port has handled just 22 ships, a far cry from its projected capacity. Similar stories have emerged in other countries, where the promised benefits have been overshadowed by the social and economic costs. The very infrastructure that was meant to revolutionize these countries has often fallen short of expectations. There were roads that led to nowhere, underutilized ports, and costly power plants that did more harm than good. Rather than propelling economies forward, some projects turned into colossal economic drains. Environmental concerns and questions about the sustainability of these projects has further fueled the discontent. The BRI has faced significant criticism for ignoring environmental and human rights standards, and many projects went ahead without proper environmental assessments, leading to ecological damage. Montenegro started the Bar-Bolgare highway project with significant funding from China. The goal was to connect the Adriatic Sea with Serbia, hoping to boost trade and tourism along the route. Despite the ambitious plan, only 25 miles of the planned 101 miles have been completed. This stretch, full of tunnels and bridges, suddenly stops in rough terrain and sees little use due to high tolls and limited connectivity. Locals have nicknamed it the Highway from Nowhere to Nowhere. The project has put a huge strain on Montenegro's finances. The debt from this highway project alone is more than a third of the country's annual budget, and the Montenegrin government has had to seek help from European and US banks to restructure the loan and manage repayments. The construction of the Bar-Bolgare highway has also had severe environmental impacts, especially on the Tara River, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Construction activities have caused significant damage to the river, attracting criticism from local and international environmentalists. The Montenegrin government and the China Road and Bridge Corporation have been criticized for not addressing these environmental concerns adequately. Additionally, the project has faced social challenges, including protests from local communities regarding the impact of the project on their agricultural land. However, despite protests, no significant changes were made to the project's plan. The Bar-Bolgar highway project has also been plagued by allegations of corruption and lack of transparency. Many documents related to the project have been kept secret, preventing public scrutiny. The project's implementation has been marked by a lack of public tenders for subcontractors and other transparency issues, further fueling criticism and damaging the project's credibility. And allegations of corruption have not just been limited to Montenegro. Many BRI projects have been tarnished by bribery and corruption, ruining trust and lessening the good these investments could do. Corruption has meant inflated project costs and a misuse of funds. In Malaysia, it is reported that Chinese officials helped to bail out Malaysia's State Development Fund, 1MDB, by inflating the costs of BRI infrastructure projects. In exchange, China received access to major national rail and port projects in Malaysia, revealing just how opaque BRI projects can be. To tackle these problems, China's anti-corruption agency has stepped up efforts. They have increased monitoring of projects and started more investigations into state-owned enterprises involved in the BRI. Despite these efforts, the lack of transparency and complexity of the projects make addressing corruption challenging. China has signed extradition treaties with BRI countries and conducts compliance courses for involved enterprises, but these are focused on preventing the misuse of Chinese funds rather than addressing broader corruption issues. As the realization of these multifaceted challenges has set in, the initial enthusiasm among BRI participant countries has waned. Doubts and dissatisfaction have crept in, leading some to reassess their involvement, resulting in a decrease in both the number and value of new foreign contracted projects signed in BRI countries. The renegotiation of payment terms and, in some cases, outright abandonment of projects has signaled a significant shift in recent years. This change in attitudes has been a critical and potentially terminal setback for the BRI, marking it for many as an expensive failure. If you want to learn more about global economic affairs, head on over to this video where we cover just that. Thanks for watching and see you on the next video.